was going wrong? What was going through your mind, and why didn't you get any help?
I knew that I was having a problem, but in those days, in the early 50s, if I would have went to the Army doctors and said, "Doc, I have a problem. I go places, but I can't get there. I see things that isn't there. I do things that's out of the ordinary for a human being. What is my problem?" He would have said, "You're crazy. You have a psycho problem. We don't need psycho problems in the Army. Goodbye." Then I would have been out the door with a wife and 5 or 6 children with no place to go. So I hid my problem. I cried in my own corner.
I tended then to hold in any symptoms for fear that I really was losing it. And shortly thereafter, I had a grand mal seizure. And for the next 30 years, I was an epileptic. And I had grand mal and petit mal and psychomotor seizures. On tons of different medication, and nothing stopped them. I kept having them. And I was struggling at the same time to raise a family, to stay in the Army, and to keep my head on straight.
Well, I think probably more of them would have volunteered if they knew what was going to happen to them. A lot of them regarded this experience as a very interesting adventure. And in fact, we had a number of them volunteer to repeat the experience. We did do some studies where we gave the same drug on 2 occasions, say, separated by a couple of weeks, or 2 different drugs. Some individuals received BZ once, and then maybe a couple weeks later might get a dose of LSD.
I've had diabetes, nervous breakdown, and I was a complete vegetable for almost like 2 years. Between 82 and 84. That had to be something that, in the interim between the time that I went into the service and the time that I came out, that that changed me. I don't know whether it was the military itself or whether it was going to Edgewood. I can't say whether it was or not, but there was a change in me, in my total outlook on life and the way that I viewed my future.
My personality had just changed. My mother had made numerous statements that I wasn't the same person I was prior to the test, well, she didn't know what it was, but prior to my trip to Edgewood. And I went from being a pretty much passive person to being an aggressive person. I would lose a hair-trigger temper, and it would just be over piddly things. I mean, you and I might be sitting here talking, and just all of a sudden, one word would come out wrong, or something, a child might drop something, I'd just lose my temper, and just literally, I've thrown plates, I've put my wife through a wall, through the sheetrock wall when I've lost my temper, and thank God she wasn't hurt. But we were sitting there talking, and the next thing I lost my temper, and I reached, and I wanted to just have her quiet, and I grabbed her by her shoulders and went back with her, and she went through the sheetrock on the wall. and it scared the life out of me. And I've had violent episodes with my children, with my wife, and with people I work with. And it's over little things, nothing significant. Because of the secrecy involved that we were told from Edgewood Arsenal not to discuss, my wife didn't know about this until 1980. And this was a period of 7 years of our married life that she had no knowledge of what was going on with me. It was just a total loss to her why I would become violent and break into rages, you know, and whenever I'd have a seizure, she couldn't understand why. It makes me sad because I've lost a lot of my family. My closeness with my family, my brothers, my mother till she died, it was more of a, I'll see you once a year, and I can't see you any more than that because I don't know what's going to happen to me. And with my daughters and my wife, I can't get close to them like I want to. I can't hold my daughter and hug her. I can't tell her I love her. It's something inside has just changed. It's just eating at me, and it's torn at them.
You have to ask, what else could be a cause of this feeling of going crazy? What else could be a cause of these problems that develop years later? How logical is it that a psychological experience or even a pharmacological experience years ago would suddenly pop up later and cause one to go nuts? It doesn't make sense to me, and I haven't seen any systematic demonstration of this fact.
For a long time after Edgewood, I had weird dreams about somebody coming in, taking me, and doing, you know, strange experiments and all kinds of stuff with it. I would say at least 5, 6 years afterwards, I was still having the same dreams about, you know, just being physically unable to do anything about the situation.
If they had told somebody, said, hey, we use this individual for LSD, he may be a little flaky now and then. He may lose his bearings, but cuddle him, take him to the medical people and talk to him, counsel him. But, you know, just don't throw him into the ditch and, you know, let him go. Because it was so hard on my family. You know, when I got back, they didn't understand what was going on. My parents didn't understand. Even my close friends, they didn't understand. You know, they figured, you know, he's really out of it, you know. What's wrong with him? Did he get hit in the head? Did he got shell-shocked? But if they had just told somebody, you know, and patted me on the head and said, boy, you did a good job, you know, but now you're a little sick.
The people were not informed. They were not fully informed of what the hazards were, what the dangers were, how unstable LSD was, and how each individual can have separate reactions to the same dosage. And of course that there was no follow-up. It was like, hey, you know, no big deal. Just trot along on your way.
We did not warn volunteers that they were likely to have flashbacks or suicidal ideation or any of the number of bad things that can happen to people, whether they're correctly or incorrectly attributed to having LSD on one occasion. The reason we did not is the same reason that doctors don't advise patients of the likelihood of having something when there's a less than 1% chance of its occurring.
After 24 hours rest, the completely recovered volunteers reviewed their experience.
What was this business over here in the corner? You were lying down and looking at the wall?
Well, I didn't think it was good psychology to say to these volunteers, by the way, you may have a terrible flashback sometime in the next year or two, or you may feel like committing suicide or jumping off a high building. I don't think many doctors would plant that thought in the head of a patient or a volunteer.
No, no one ever told me from Edgewood that there would be any after effects or anything from the testing that was done there.
What do you think about that now, looking back on it?
I feel very disappointed that my country would do something like that to me and not inform me of potential dangers. It tugs at my patriotism.
Many doctors would plant that thought in the head of a patient or a volunteer.
No one ever told me from Edgewood that there would be any after effects or anything from the testing that was done there.
What do you think about that now, looking back on it?